welcome to Agriculture Now. I'm your host, Jared Downey. We have got Fenner Dunlop coming on the agriculture show to talk about a range of products specific to the agriculture sector. We've got Albano. He's the Senior Vice President of Business Development at Fenner Dunlop. He's got a bit of an interesting story of how he ended up being part of the Fenner Dunlop team. So we're going to cover that. We're going to get into some very specifics about the different applications that the products are being used for. So, very excited. Make sure, before we jump into the interview, we are still doing our Heavy Industry World Tour. We've been to South Africa, Australia, of course, the U.S. and Canada. We're covering a lot of ground, so make sure to tune in for that. It's a lot of fun checking those out. Okay, Al, welcome to the show. Great to have you on.
Well, thanks. Morning, Jared.
Great, and thanks for bearing. Our setup was we had some technical issues this morning, so thanks for bearing with us.
It's the joys of a home office, right?
It really is, yeah. Where are you located?
Denver, Colorado.
Are you full out winter there, or are you still waiting?
It is. It's hammering snow in the mountains. We were out skiing last weekend. It was fabulous. So it's been a good early season.
So how long have you? I've been to Denver. I've spent a little bit of time in Colorado. It's absolutely a beautiful place. Have you sort of born and raised there? What's the story of being there?
No, I was born and raised in Maine, of all places.
Oh, okay.
And we moved here after moving several places. I lived in Chicago for a while, New Jersey, Connecticut, moved around for corporate jobs. And
wow.
We settled here on purpose, and we're not going anywhere.
It's just a beautiful place. I wanted to jump in. I mean, we've got so much to cover on the agriculture side for Fenner Dunlop, but I was looking through my notes before I started the interview, and I saw that you had a company that got bought by Fenner. Is that right?
That's right. It's been about 10 years now. I was a Fenner Dunlop distributor here in Denver. The name of the company was called King Energy Services, and we serviced a lot of the aggregate, also cement plants, that kind of thing, but also in grain industry as well. Mm. So I was a distributor before I was with the manufacturer.
I mean, you hear, wow, I'm stumbling around here. In this industry, there's so many acquisitions and mergers, and it's just crazy. So we actually, ironically, though, don't have a chance to talk to a lot of people about going through the process, even though it happens all the time, especially like on our mining side. What was that process like? I mean, that's a big decision to get, you're dealing with a company, then you sell to them and that whole process. So what can you just talk us through it a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, the transaction was really seamless, actually. Fenner at the time wanted to get more vertically integrated. We had service teams that went out and installed the conveyor belt. Mm. And of course, we had a very robust inventory as well. So, they wanted to get more into the service side of the business. And they felt bad for me, I guess, and gave me a job after they bought me out.
So you actually ended up switching sectors, though. So because your primary was like in the cement and everything like that, you said. But then you're now focused primarily on agriculture, or are we just covering agriculture today?
All of the above. When it comes down to conveyor belt, heavy-duty conveyor belt, there are so many different places and applications to use a product. Mm-hmm. Of course, certain conveyor belt styles are more geared towards specific industries, kind of like the grain industry we're talking about today.
Yeah. What sort of makes what is specific to the grain industry? We've had Fenner Dunlop on our mining shows, and of course we're talking the heavy duty stuff for moving ore and all that sort of thing. So what is sort of the distinct factors within the agriculture sector?
Well, for the grain applications or soybean, that kind of thing, the application is super specific. You just can't just trade one application for another and use the same products. In the grain industry specifically, it's a very difficult application. So you have to be static conductive, oil resistant. You have to be it has to be durable. The product has to handle so many things. It has to be low temperature resistant as well. So that application requires a lot of engineering into the product.
So, okay, let's walk through a couple of those things. One question I had is, are you dealing, like you said, okay, is it the low oil resistant with the soybeans? Was that what you just?
Especially, yes, when they crush seeds or oil for oil applications, especially in the soybean applications, they're very, very difficult on the conveyor belt covers. So the rubber covers that cover the conveyor belt have to be designed to handle all those applications. So for instance, in these applications, they're thin covers as well, only 1/8-inch top cover or 16th-inch top and bottom cover. So at Fenner Dunlop, again, it has to be engineered to handle the oil resistance. And there's a whole range of oil resistance, from moderately oil resistant to high applications. And for soybean applications in particular, it's on the high end of the application for oil resistance.
So what happens if it's not done right? What happens?
Then you have some problems. What happens is the covers will start to get gummy, they get soft, they wear out very quickly. So you have to have the exact right application or the cover for the application, otherwise you're going to have some serious problems.
You said about the static conductivity. What is that?
Mm-hmm.
What is that in reference to with like, is that for grain or?
Yeah, that's a great question. There are so many applications in handling wheat and that kind of thing where there's a dusty application. And the dust is actually explosive. So you have to have a lot of applications where you don't have static conductivity. There's a lot of static that will be created in applications, any moving parts. So what has to happen is you can't have buildup of the static and then have a spark. If there's a spark in a dusty application, that's where you have these situations where you have grain elevators that have had explosions in the past. And that has to be avoided at all cost, obviously. And conveyor belt's a big component of that. So you have to make sure you have the right belt.
Let's give a shout out to our sponsors. First up, we've got Edge Eyewear. Edge designs stylish, quality, and affordable safety eyewear that's as fit for the weekend as the workday. Edge safety glasses and sunglasses are ANSI or CSA compliant and come ready with modern technology and are comfortable enough to meet the unique requirements of those in the agriculture industry. And they've been delivering a better safety glass since 1998. Visit edgeeyewear.com to learn more and save 20% with code CROWN20. Next up, we have Verge Ag. Verge software Launchpad helps farmers plan, simulate, and improve the movement of equipment in their fields. What does this mean for farmers? By using Launchpad to ensure equipment is at the right place at the right time and moves logically, it is more efficient and effective, reducing time spent in the field, input costs, soil compaction, and operator error. Path plans are exported directly to monitors already installed in the equipment. For more information about Launchpad, visit vergeag.com or email them info@vergeag.com. PowerZone carries a massive inventory of pumps, engines, generators, and compressors. However, they don't stop there. They combine imagination with world-class engineering. They detail the entire process to every customer. Their pump package testing facility ensures your equipment is landing on-site, ready to work. That is PowerZone. Start with inventory, develop with imagination, deliver with integrity, and it's all at powerzone.com. That is PowerZone. Introducing the SolarSet Fold. The new foldable frame solar system brings power to your residential and commercial property and can be shipped worldwide. Like all SolarSet products, the SolarSet Fold comes turnkey, pre-assembled, and is easily transported and installed. Learn more about SolarSet Fold and their full line of amazing solar systems at solarset.com.
So, with this type of stuff, like I always think of it like, because I came from the used equipment world. So if I was to build a grain elevator, I would find some belt and I would wrap it under a conveyor and I'd get a motor that works and away I'd go. So I'd probably be the guy that starts the fire. How do you know who is making the specs for them? So does an engineer come in like a major agriculture plant, let's say? Are they coming to you and saying, these are the specifications, and then you're matching it? Or are they coming to you and say, we need to move this much grain, this is the conveyor length, and this is the setup, and then you're saying, okay, based on what you're saying, these are the products that fit you?
It's a combination of both. It's well known within the industry, because this industry has been around for a long time, that you have to have the covers be made of what they call SCORF, which in the rubber world, SCORF means SCORF, static conductive, oil resistant, and fire retardant.
Okay, so so if you're using in this application, that's automatically going to be part of it.
That's right. But it has to be made with great integrity and also with a lot of testing, which we do here domestically. And by the way, for Fenner on the conveyor belt here in North America, we don't manufacture in low-cost countries in order to save a couple of bucks. What we do is we make we manufacture here domestically for our domestic supply. So we manufacture in Ohio, for instance, in Georgia, and also we have one location up in Canada. So virtually everything that's supplied by Fenner Dunlop domestically is manufactured in North America.
With that, and I've talked about this a little bit on the other shows. I mean, a supply chain has obviously been a huge topic, but including in the agriculture sector specifically, does that give you, obviously, people want to buy American and Canadian and that, and I get that part, but just on the supply chain side, has it given you quite an advantage as these sort of turmoil times?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the whole concept. We do manufacture as a company in China. We do manufacture in India. However, we always want to manufacture close to where our customers are in order that we have faster delivery and more robust supply chain. Oh, it's for me.
Oh.
Sorry about that, guys.
You said something wrong. They're calling you.
Yeah, the technical team just called me and said, stop talking.
Stop talking. Yeah, so and that is really the advantage and is the strategic setup of where the customers are.
Absolutely. And beyond that, we have great supply partners with our distribution channel. So all of our products sold through distributors. And we have locations with IBT in Merriam, Kansas. We have Baldwin Supply in both Minneapolis and Sioux Falls, and also MaxiLift down in Texas. And between all of them, they have multi-million dollars worth of inventory. So when you talk about supply chain challenges, having a robust inventory with our distribution partners is a real big part of what we have.
So those distribution partners, let's go walk through them a little bit. What are they offering to customers? So they're providing the belt, but then they providing other services as well?
That's right. It's the value add that makes it very compelling. So, for instance, MaxiLift, they're a well-known manufacturer of conveyor of bucket elevator buckets. So they manufacture both steel and plastic and nylon buckets for applications in the green industry and other industries. So each one of those that I mentioned, IBT, MaxiLift, and Baldwin, they all have CNC machines that actually punch the belt. So the belt
I saw the video of that, actually.
Yeah, the video is terrific. So, and that will show you how the belt is punched. And these CNC machines offer not only accuracy as to where the holes are punched, but also speed, which is therefore very cost effective. So not everybody punches belts with CNC machines. Some do it by hand in different places. And again, it's very tedious and not typically very accurate as well.
And it's a whole range of the belts. Again, the video's playing while we're talking through that. So is that a whole range of belts? Like, is it just for it's heavy duty belts, the lighter ones for the ag sector? Is it all of them that are being put through these machines?
Absolutely. It goes from 220 pounds worth of tensile strength all the way up to 1,000 pounds on these machines. So it's quite amazing.
And so I wanted to actually, I kind of skipped over this part and I wanted to cover this, is in the ag sector, what are the different elevators being used? Like the buckets, I saw some videos of those as well. Where are those being used mostly? I saw they kind of use yellow buckets. I think maybe MaxiLift was a MaxiLift video.
MaxiLift, yes. And here's the thing about the bucket elevators. They go from the small 24-inch, 18-inch, even smaller than that, where farmers use that to handle materials in the silos, all the way up to where you have the export locations down, especially down in the Gulf in Louisiana and so forth, where they have large barges that are being loaded and unloaded. And the speeds with which these are being designed today are amazing. They're up to 84 inches wide, 710 feet a minute. These things are flying.
Wow.
So the belt's a big piece of this, right? Because no plant manager ever said, let's go slower and take longer to do something.
No.
So that said no one ever. So what's happening is that the applications are getting more and more difficult to handle for the belt. You have bolts that go into that hold the buckets in place.
I saw that.
And bolt retention is very important. And Fenner's designed, by the way, another style of product in the fabric in order to have better bolt retention, so you can run systems faster and harder. Yeah,
well, you mentioned bolts. We did a whole episode on them, and we that was sort of a running joke for a while. Like, we'll even do episodes about bolts, and that episode had thousands of people watching it, and for a long time. because
It's usually important.
it's hugely important. So that design, I mean, even that type of thing has probably advanced over the years, just the bolting application.
Well, if you take a look at the fabric, we talked a bit about the application for Fenner, how we designed the rubber that goes on the outside of the fabric, but the fabric virtually does all of the work in an application. The rubber on the outside is strictly for static conductivity and to protect the fabric. So if you take a look at the schematic that we have on fabric, on conveyor belt fabric that's offered by Fenner,
Yeah.
we offer multiple styles of fabric.
Okay, so you're referring to this, it's called weave type chart, I think, like carcass construction, right?
That's exactly right. If we can take a look at that real quickly here.
Yeah.
So you see there are a whole host of different types of weaves. So the fabric that we make, and by the way, we make all of our own fabric in Livonia, Georgia for all of our applications here, which is unique to Fenner, by the way. We're the only manufacturer of conveyor belt that makes all of their own fabric.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's a core competency for us. So if you look at the straight warp, the plain weave, the dual crimp, the crow's twill, and then the solid woven, we do manufacture each style of those. And each style has its own applications, has its own benefits, has its own limitations. So when it comes to grain belt and bolt retention, what we're promoting these days is the dual crimp warp, which you can see in the pictures has a more robust, thicker fiber before they gets woven into a fabric.
That's number 3?
That's number 3.
Yeah.
And that is a patented item from Fenner. So we're the only manufacturer on the planet that is allowed to make or makes that dual crimp warp. So if we can move over from there, Jared, into the bolt holding retention chart, which I know is a bit of an eye chart here.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, we're good.
But you'll see on the construction, it offers the differences on the lengthwise rip, the lengthwise tear, the crosswise tear, and so forth. And the last item is bolt holding. So all those characteristics that we build into our conveyor fabric then result into a more robust bolt holding result. And especially in the 110-pound fabric, not to get too technical here, but if you look at that PSR 4440 compared to our F4, you'll see that the bolt retention goes from 2,000 pounds to 2,800 pounds. That's a big difference. That's a huge difference in performance of the product and then the results you'll see in a bucket application.
So in real world application, then, is that you're talking like if you're at now I'm forgetting what you said. It's like a port where they're actually like they're moving huge volume. So essentially, they can now maximize. They can take this belt, maximize the size of the buckets, the width of the belt. All of that stuff can get maximized now.
That's exactly right. And buckets are being designed to be bigger and stronger and more robust and even longer in the lip dimension. So as that happens, you're going to have more requirements for more robust bolt holding, bolt retention.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said before, no one ever said when you're loading a barge and you have all these charges for delays and so forth. And right now in the Mississippi, if you're aware, with the low water, they're only able to load these barges at less than full capacity. So they're already being.
I didn't know that. No.
Yeah, they're already being challenged in many ways down there to keep things moving along as quickly as possible. So again, more reliable loading, more reliable application is becoming very, very much more important.
This is a very layman question, but if you've watched the show, you'll know that a few of those get asked on it. So when I was a kid, we had all these horses and that, so you could actually put your hand into most grains. Like it's a very kind of light material. Of course, as it gets to bulk, then it becomes very heavy. Like a whole bag is heavy. But the grain elevators, the bucket elevators, obviously, if the material was really rigid and hard, they wouldn't be able to kind of essentially. Are they scooping or are they actually getting fed? How is the bucket actually picking the material up?
If you refer to this one schematic drawing, Jared, you can see where the buckets, how they're attached to the conveyor belt, and then they go down and scoop the material from the feed area, and then get discharged up higher into the bucket application. And some of these elevator legs, of course, are extremely tall. They feed silos, for instance, for storage.
So, like, sort of painting a picture, how tall could it be? I saw one video. I mean, the silo was way up there. I don't know how tall. I mean, maybe it was a camera shot, but it looked huge. Like, how tall are these things getting now?
Well, again, as tall as the silos might be, right? Because these silos can be hundreds of feet tall. So they'll go as high as needed for proper storage. And by the way, on the video that was supplied by MaxiLift, thanks to MaxiLift for that, you can run about a 30-second video, and it'll show the applications here. If you take a look and see through their video, how the buckets are installed, how they're used, and so forth. The challenge was trying to get a video of an actual bucket elevator from the inside because it's such a dusty environment. Right, it makes it very difficult. But I think the schematics speak to itself and speak well of how the application works.
So I wanted to circle back to the distribution side of things and just get an understanding of your distributors. You know, I'm sure it's engineering, farmers, the ports. So who are they? Is an engineering company coming to them? Like, how are they selling, or how do their products then get out into the market that is distributing for you?
Yeah, great question. And again, it's all of the above. The conveyor belt is being used and supplied from our distributors to farmers who use a conveyor belt maybe twice or four times a year. And when they put their product into silos and again wait for the market conditions to improve. Or it goes all the way down to these large export facilities, terminals down, especially in the Gulf, where they have those 84-inch wide belts running 710 feet a minute. So, in the Gulf, you have, for instance, companies like ADM, Cargill, CGB, the large producers. And then also we do a lot of work through our distributors with OEMs, such as High Roller, Sukup, 4B, those kind of people. So it's all of the above, Jared. And the distributors do a great job of servicing those customers for us.
So over the past 3 years, we've had COVID. Now we've had these supply chain issues. Through that, I know for very small companies like ours, we had to adapt, and from adapting, that actually created new opportunities. For a company like Fenner Dunlop, did you see the same sort of things? Things like market share, training, communication, all these things that got challenged. Were there opportunities that came out of it?
Yeah, of course there were. At Fenner, what we did, we had to pivot just like anybody else, any other company, to stay relevant. And we did a lot of online video training modules, of which we did, if I remember right, about 8 of them. And that provided extra expertise to those people who were remote from us that weren't able to travel and visit with during the times. But, for the most part, even during the COVID times, we did travel to locations and sites when they had challenges that we needed to help them through. So Fenner didn't miss much of a beat during the entire COVID situation.
Did it expedite a lot of those, like some communicate, like even with teams though, like there must have been some shifting that of people being able to sort of connect across in different teams for different locations and that sort of stuff. That just a lot of companies didn't have to do that before, and now all of a sudden you did, and then it kind of created that. Did you find that was the case, or was it?
We did. We all became challenged to be experts in Teams and Zoom and so forth. So, and I think like most people, I'm getting a little Zoom weary. I'd rather see people in person. Right, because it's much more effective. But we're also able to install several national account business opportunities where we incorporated our distribution partners and offered fixed pricing for our end users who want that, right? Because no matter who they would buy the product from, they would get the same price. So we were able to adjust the price according to market conditions and allow our end users to buy the product from any distributor at a fixed price, which again takes a lot of mystery out of the pricing program.
Right. Yeah. No, I've talked to someone on a completely different industry who did something similar, and it really kind of it took a lot of the confusion out of the industry as well.
Yeah, it saves a lot of time for people to go shopping, right? We already did the shopping for them.
Right.
And the purchasing group, in several instances, they were able to negotiate some very, very favorable pricing.
Going in sort of a completely different route, the heavy industry, which is of course what we cover, it's so unique in the sense that it's so big, everything's so heavy. It's all interconnected. Even agriculture is somehow connected to mining, which is connected to transportation, and maybe nobody more than Fenner Dunlop is sort of in that. It's right sort of in the middle of all of it. And we talk about innovation and change, but from you, I mean, how long have you been in the industry?
Forever and a day. So it had over 40 years.
How much has it changed? I mean, you kind of got front row seat. You said you were in cement and now ag and covering different sectors for Fenner. Has it been a big change? Has innovation changed? Has it been a lot of subtle changes like the bolting system so the belt can hold more buckets, that type of thing? Or have there been monumental changes that you've seen over the years?
Well, that's a great question, and you're right. Things have changed. We do cross all heavy industries, from coal mining to iron ore to grain to picket, and anything that moves bulk material handling. Yeah. Fenner Dunlop is involved, and we're seeing a shift, certainly to a younger, highly educated workforce that's now currently that we deal with, which is very good for Fenner in particular, I believe, because we do offer a lot of value add as far as being able to walk systems and doing belt wizards, which is what we do is when we walk a system, we'll determine which is the best application, which product is best for the application at hand. So it's no longer guesswork as much as it might have been in the past. And when you talk about installations as well, Jared, you're spot on. The millwrights who install the buckets, the technicians who install the conveyor belts, that kind of performance and value add is so important to ours and the end users' use of our product.
What is the biggest, from an end user standpoint, what is the biggest advantage through these developments? And what I mean is it things like there aren't as many fires in the grain, elevated, right. Things like that. Is it safety? Is it the efficiency? Is it things like, maybe 20 years ago, you'd do an install, you'd get it close to right, but there was a lot of adjustments, whereas now you're able to more efficiently do an install and get things on track more because of the technology that's actually tracking it, all of those sort of things. What do you think from an end user? Where do they notice the difference the most?
Yeah, and that's, again, one of the benefits that we offer at Fenner, not to sound too commercial about it, but we have our own installation crews, so we have a core competency in how to install the product.
Right.
And we can transfer that information to other companies that do install the product. So in many applications, what we'll do is we'll send technicians in order to help other technicians install the product properly so it works and performs right. So that's part of the value add that we offer that, quite frankly, very few offer.
And do you think now with the world, again, how it is so connected, you're able to share that knowledge across teams in a way that would have been challenging? You get 3,000-4,000 people doing all these different assignments. Now you can actually connect them. You couldn't do that at one time, or it'd be very challenging to do it. It was very bureaucratic how you had to get everybody on the same page in a way that you can bypass some of that now.
Well, Teams and Zoom certainly offered us opportunities when people weren't traveling as much or at all. But at the end of the day, Jared, what happens is you have to have the hands-on site in order to do these things and have the eyeballs actually be at the locations.
Because it's still big, bulky, heavy applications, yeah.
It is, and there's no substitute for hands-on. Again, the Zoom can only go so far. Right. Being hands-on and putting eyeballs on is super important to this day.
Before I let you go, I want to talk, take a little step back in your sort of career. You said that when Fenner Dunlop bought your company, it was pretty seamless. That it went quite well.
It did.
Was that? I've seen transactions happen where it does not go smooth at all, in any way. And so what I want to ask for you, why from your end, not from Fenner Dunlop's end, but from your end, you making those decisions, choosing to sell, getting the company ready to sell, getting all the books in order, all the stuff that goes into selling a company, making sure your inventory, just everything, there's so much stuff. I'm sure you're having flashbacks of preparing it. What sort of brought you to a point where you were able to facilitate such a big move in your professional career and be bought by such a large company like a Fenner Dunlop? Leading up to that, what sort of made you ready to go through that process? Because a lot of people have trouble with it, real trouble with it.
Yeah, it was time for me. I owned the business. I bought from my former partner 7 years prior, and I think it was just the right time for me. And I also had a very, very strong relationship with Fenner Dunlop at the time, so the transparency between the two companies already existed. And it was seamless because we were both transparent with each other, and there was no game playing. They did everything that they said they were going to do, and I feel I did the same.
Right.
And that was prior to Michelin buying Fenner, right? So
Oh, that was before. Okay, right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And Michelin bought Fenner. I think it's 3 years ago now, and that's been a huge help for our company as well. Because in my opinion, and others as well, that Michelin is probably the best rubber compounder in the world.
Well, just the R&D alone.
The R&D, Fenner, as example, Fenner has 5,000 employees, okay, prior to Michelin's acquisition. Michelin has 6,000 people in research and development.
Oh, that's insane. It's so insane. Yeah.
So, and their supply chain partners as well help us as well. We've integrated quite well with Michelin.
Yeah.
So, and I ride on Michelin tires, so as a little advertisement.
Right, there you go.
Here in the high country, when it gets cold, they're soft rubber compound.
Yeah, I think we're missing a sponsor, actually. Now
Yeah,
that you say
I know, it's Michelin. So anyway, that's been a good acquisition for Michelin to have bought Fenner as well. So
Yeah. So to take a step then even back further then, well, you said you had that company for 10 years. You had a partner. So 3 years in, you bought them out then?
initially, my partner and I were 50-50, and then I bought him out 100%. And then Fenner came along and said, hey, would you like to sell the business?
So I guess take a step back into your career then. Again, and the reason I'm sort of kind of going at this thing is because I've seen so many people not being able to smoothly pivot out. You know, it's time for them to sell off, and it can become actually some terrible situations. So I'm wondering, did you, in your career when you started the company and that, were there times where you learned, okay, I need to set things up, or I need to be transparent, or I need to, cover all the bases when I'm communicating a big deal? Where did you sort of learn that skill set?
Trial by fire. And again, my experience is one-off, right? It's not like I bought and sold, 20 businesses. So, but again, my partner, who was, it was called King Energy Services because my former partner's name is Tom King. And my relationship with him was superb. And then my relationship going forward with Fenner was terrific. So I guess I just got lucky in a lot of ways. And I really enjoyed staying on with Fenner as well, because some of my colleagues that I work with now, distribution partners that we talked about, they were my peers and now they're my customers. So I feel like I have a pretty good understanding as to where they're coming from when we have conversations.
Right. Well, I will say, I mean, we've had Fenner on several times on the show, and it's always been straight down the middle. So I kind of know what you're talking about from firsthand, that sort of transparency in that. Yeah. I guess I'll ask it in a different way then too, is that transparency, even the way that you're talking now, is very straight down the middle in that. Did you learn that, or was that a natural thing? Did you always, when you were 20 years old, starting off your career, did you have that?
Yeah, I'd like to think so, and I think that's why I've stayed on with Fenner for so long after the purchase of my company. And it's been 10 plus years now, so it's been a while. And I've enjoyed working with Fenner because, again, they're very reputable. We're a very conservative company. We do what we're going to say, and so it makes it very easy for me to stay on and also work with customers.
Yeah. It's funny. I've had this conversation with quite a few people about, because we're kind of a conservative company in the way that we sort of try to develop and grow and sort of go in stages and all that sort of stuff. But I do find those kind of companies seem to be able to make the biggest moves. The companies that say they're conservative, they're able to do those things because they've got lots of gas in the tank. They're not all spread out, not knowing who they are as a company, not knowing their core competencies, all of that sort of stuff. So I think we need to find a different word for conservative to it.
Right. I understand that.
I know what you're talking about, though.
And Jared, some of these are national accounts that we enjoy. I mentioned to you before that we have certain national accounts where we fix the pricing, we do the surveys, we offer a lot of value add. We don't have 100 of those national accounts because we just don't have the bandwidth to handle more than, say a dozen.
Right.
Could we increase that to 15? Probably. But we want to make sure that we don't overextend ourselves as well.
And that's where that conservative sort of methodology comes in, to that when you can take on 20 of those accounts, you're fully ready. It's 100%.
Well, that's it. And again, there's a reason why we've held on to the customers that we've had for so long, right?
Yeah. Is it, I guess just to wrap up the interview, where do you sort of, I mean, I'm sure you've had to work hard through your career. Where have you sort of found the balance? I mean, this work-life balance thing, I've never, to be honest, I'm actually not, it's not really part of my thing. I'm learning it a little bit to be better at it, because I've heard about it enough. But in your career, sort of, where did you find that escape? I mean, running a business, even the best business in the world, is still stressful. How did you sort of find a way to sort of, before life balance, work-life balance was the term, how did you sort of find a way to, was it going up in the mountains? How did you kind of, reset?
Oh, that was before I could go up in the mountains.
Right.
But the 7 days a week was about right, especially when I had my own business.
Yeah.
But, I had my kids at the time, they're older now, and I had my first grandchild 10 weeks ago, so I'm pretty excited about that. Yeah, thanks. It's super good. And, when the kids were in junior high school and high school, they used to come to the office with me on weekends. And we were right by the National Western stockyards as well. So there were a lot of livestock that were around, especially during the stock show.
Yeah.
So the kids would come in, we'd do homework, we'd walk around. I mean, I incorporated the business with the family, not the family with the business in some ways.
Right.
My wife was the accountant. She was working full time as a nurse when I bought the business. And then she'd come in after hours and on weekends and take care of the accounting in the books. So we all kind of joined in and did it as a family event. So I think they were great days. I wouldn't trade them for anything. Yeah.
Was it? And so, did you have hobbies and things like that, or was it work and family, and that was the life?
Well, I do enjoy skiing, and I do enjoy riding a bike. So I do a lot of bike riding out here. But and during that time, by the way, when I first bought the business, I coached my son's soccer team as well as my daughter's for my son's soccer team for 7 years, my daughter's for 3. So I did incorporate the.
So that's where you learned your leadership skills. Is bunch of kids running around.
Handling a bunch of 10-year-olds out in the field. Yeah. If you can do that, you can do almost anything.
Yeah. I remember being 10, playing hockey and that, and it was insanity. I still look back at those days and go, that would actually happen. I mean, we were crazy. Like, it was, and hockey, of course, that's an aggressive sport anyway. So it was some wild times.
Well, we didn't have to go to 5 a.m. ice time, if that's any consolation. So,
yeah, exactly. Al, thank you so much for being on the show. I hope we have you back, and I hope we got to cover some of what you want to today, because it's we've had Fenner Dunlop on from a few different angles, and everyone I've learned a little bit more. So I thank you for coming on.
Well, thanks, Jared. Really enjoyed it.
Okay, and thank you, everybody, for watching. We've got plenty more episodes coming soon, so make sure to hit the subscribe button, follow us, comment. Also, if you want to connect with people that you see on the show, the links will be, if you're seeing this maybe on LinkedIn or on YouTube, we'll have links and tags to everybody on there. So thank you, everybody. We'll see you on the next episode of Agriculture Now.